Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Phan Dai Nam. Today is April 28th, 2024. We are at the Museum of the Republic of Vietnam, located in Westminster, California, to attend a lecture that will be done by Major Pham Chau Tai of the 81st Airborne Commando Battalion of the Army of the Republic of Vietnam. The event today was made possible by Dr. Quan, who is the President of the Museum of the Republic of Vietnam.
I had the honor of being able to invite Major Pham Chau Tai of the 81st Airborne Commando Battalion to come and talk about what really happened during the last battle that took place on April 30th, 1975. The reason why we should have this event around Black April or April 30th is because a lot of young people here are exposed to a lot of wrong information through American news media or news media from the Vietnamese communists. A lot of American news media and Vietnamese communist news media falsely claim that when the Vietnamese communist troops advanced onto Saigon on April 30th, 1975, all of the soldiers of the Republic of Vietnam fled right away without putting up any resistance, and that the road to the capital of Saigon had a red carpet laid out for the Vietnamese communists to arrive peacefully. However, none of that is true, and Major Pham Chau Tai, a witness of history who was there himself, is here today to tell his story of how he and all of the soldiers of the Republic of Vietnam put up a super fierce and brave fight and resistance until the very last moment to inflict heavy casualties on the Vietnamese communist forces.
Former Major Pham Chau Tai gave us his brief account of how the last days of April 1975 played out. He was ordered by the High Command to move his troops to Saigon to protect the headquarters of the Joint General Staff, which is the High Command of all armed forces of the Republic of Vietnam.
The 81st Airborne Commando Battalion at the end had 3,000 soldiers. It was divided into 3 tactical fighting groups. Each tactical fighting group consisted of 1,000 soldiers. So 3 tactical fighting groups had a total of 3,000 soldiers. I was the chief commander of one of the tactical fighting groups of the 81st Airborne Commando Battalion.
Can you let us know briefly what it was like on April 30th, 1975, when the Vietnamese communist troops advanced onto the headquarters of the Joint General Staff? Please give us a quick summary, sir.
When they arrived at Baquio Street, they met us right away. When they came to Baquio Street, at the Baquio intersection, they ran into us. We fought them from there all the way down to the intersection of Bi Hien Street. We destroyed a total of 6 Vietnamese communist tanks. During the battle, we didn't have any news reporters from South Vietnam, because on that day, all of the civilians had already evacuated. Even though there were no South Vietnamese reporters, the reason why people knew about the battle was because there was one French reporter who managed to take pictures of all of the tanks that were destroyed by us at the Bi Hien intersection. The French reporter later published these pictures on a French newspaper to challenge the Vietnamese communists' claim that there was no resistance in Saigon. The French reporter would ask the Vietnamese communists, if there was no resistance in Saigon, then how come I have pictures of these tanks being destroyed?
On April 30th, 1975, when President Duong Van Minh told everyone to surrender, had the Vietnamese communist troops already infiltrated the headquarters of the Joint General Staff, and did you encounter any Vietnamese communist forces?
At that time we were fighting at the Bi Hien intersection, and the Vietnamese communist troops started to try to break into the headquarters of the Joint General Staff. When the Vietnamese communist troops tried to break in, we immediately fought back against them because I had stationed my soldiers around the headquarters of the Joint General Staff. The area inside the headquarters of the Joint General Staff was not under our jurisdiction. Our area of jurisdiction was only outside, around the headquarters of the Joint General Staff. Even though I only had 1,000 soldiers under my command, they were all well-trained and highly experienced. They were also all volunteers and not draftees. And so we fought back against the enemy fiercely, we destroyed 6 even though they had tanks. At that time, the 3rd Department of the Joint General Staff told us to stop fighting. Wherever our soldiers were, 2 or 3 times, I ordered my soldiers to stop their fire, but the enemy kept on trying to breach the headquarters. As such, I got confused and went inside the headquarters to try to figure out what was going on. I wanted to ask, do we fight or not fight? We stopped firing a couple of times, but the enemy kept on advancing. As such, I wanted to ask for a final and clear command from the Joint General Staff. Do you understand? However, when I went inside, no one was there.
When President Duong Van Minh told everyone to surrender, were the Vietnamese communist troops able to get inside the headquarters yet?
No. None of them were able to get inside the headquarters at that moment because we had fought back and stopped all of their advances. Years later, the Vietnamese communists themselves reported that they lost 9 tanks. Not 6 from what I saw.
So, sir, at that time, if you did not follow President Duong Van Minh's order to surrender, what do you think would have happened?
At that time, President Duong Van Minh spoke to me. Over the phone, I asked him, if you order us to surrender, will you be willing to accept full responsibility for what the enemy will do to more than 1,000 soldiers of the 81st Airborne Commando Battalion? His reply was, you guys can decide whether or not you guys want to surrender. This meant that he denied his responsibility. He said, it's up to you guys. So that meant we could do whatever we wanted. As such, I ordered my troops to continue fighting, because I wanted to get a final order from a person at the highest level of command. Do we continue fighting? He answered that it was up to us, so I kept on fighting. I continued fighting for another half hour. Then President Duong Van Minh went on the radio and ordered everyone to surrender. We are soldiers. We had no choice but to follow orders.
Ladies and gentlemen, during former Major Pham Chau Tai's lecture, there was also another speaker and former soldier, Ngo Van Quai, present. He was there to facilitate the lecture and spoke in English to help young people understand more about all of the things that former Major Pham Chau Tai said. The lecture had to end after 2 hours, and the Museum of the Republic of Vietnam has promised to invite the guest speaker to return again on a convenient date and time to talk more about all of the fierce battles that the 81st Airborne Commando Battalion participated in. I'm Phan Dai Nam reporting for SBTN from Westminster, Southern California.